The linebacker position is one that you must be physical at the point of attack, and obviously, just leading that and doing that by example is important for us as a football team overall, because it helps the offense as well in terms of getting their toughness going and getting them physical as well.
It seemed like you guys did the tackling to the ground period today, and
yes,
he just seemed like he just came to life and was in on like 3 consecutive tackles. Was he in his element out there? Did he jump out in that period?
Yeah, he did. He stood out. I haven't watched the tape yet, but he definitely stood out. And I think as a football team, everyone gets excited when we, go live for a play or 3 plays or whatever coach might deem at that point in time. Yes.
What have you thought of, Schobert in the middle for you guys? But, you've kind of gotten to know him a little bit, kind of practiced with him a little bit.
Yeah, he's a smart player. He can orchestrate a lot of different things for us in terms of checks, getting us in line, making the adjustment, all those kind of things. So from that standpoint, obviously he's played a number of years in the league, and that has helped his progression. And he's picking up the system, and he's doing a good job with communicating to his teammates and understanding what his role in the defense is going to be for this season.
Hey, Coach, the missed tackle stats was obviously not what the Browns wanted last year.
Yeah, sure.
How much of a priority is that then for you coming in?
That's always a priority for us coming in as a defense. Every great defense that I've been involved with, they've been excellent tacklers, excellent tackling football teams. When you look at the playoffs, year in and year out, those teams that are still playing in January into February, those defenses are physical and they can also tackle. So we're going to work on that every day, whether we're in full pads or just helmets. We're going to work a form of tackling, taking angles to the ball, being physical at the point of attack, shooting our hands, wrapping, taking them to the ground, things of that nature. We're going to work those fundamentals every single day, and angles to the ball, most importantly.
There you have it, Al Holcomb, who is the linebacker coach for the Cleveland Browns. And if he does really well, we'll do a segment called Holcomb Quickies, I think. We'll see how that works. Let's check back in. We'll find out what's going on with Jake Burns. Jake, you've made it through so far. You haven't gotten hurt. You haven't got injured. It's a war of attrition here.
I'm lucky.
Yeah, you are lucky. All right, so most people would say the weakest area on this Browns team would be the linebackers. Agree or disagree?
If you're looking defensively, I think it's the spot that has the most mystery surrounding it. Yep.
All right, so
yeah,
Mack-Wilson said something the other day that John Dorsey didn't draft him and Takitaki to sit on the bench or something to those words. Was he right on that?
Well, I think he certainly drafted him to put pressure on the 2 guys who are entrenched as starters. Christian-Kirksey is coming back from 2 really rough years in terms of performance and coming off an injury that cost him the back half of last year. Joe-Schobert had a Pro Bowl year in 2017, and then 2018 had a little issue there with a hamstring injury and had an unfortunate season in terms of defending the run game. Never really got it going in that department. And he had issues tackling, leading the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, in missed tackles. So I do think they drafted Takitaki to be the future Mike linebacker, and they drafted, mack-Wilson there to be the will linebacker of the future. I think what'll be interesting is, the Browns will, they're going to give Schobert and Kirksey every chance to prove themselves. And if Schobert is able to prove himself and have a blow-up year, which is very possible, I think he's a very good football player, the Browns will do everything they can to keep him. The same with Christian-Kirksey, who they've had around for a long time. I know Kirksey and Joel Bitonio are 2 of the longest tenure Browns. So, the question is fair. And I think the Browns said, hey, we want to improve our special teams, so we're going to draft some young linebackers here who can contribute on those special teams. But we also think these guys could be long-term players for us. And we believe in what's Sione-Takitaki, and we believe what Mack-Wilson can bring to those 2 positions.
Let's go back to that list of linebackers currently on the roster and take a look at something that would have been great. You got Joe-Schobert and genard-avery, Mack-Wilson, Willie-Harvey, Anthony-Stubbs, Christian-Kirksey, Sione-Takitaki, Adarius-Taylor, and ray-ray-Armstrong and dedrick-young II. Wouldn't it have been interesting if if Takitaki's parents named him Ray-Ray?
Ray-ray-Takitaki.
Yeah.
Would have been pretty repetitive.
Maybe so. What's your early analysis of looking at those 2 rookies in Takitaki and Mack-Wilson? Have they shown you anything, or is it way too early?
It's a little too early, but they've thudded some guys up in practice. A couple days ago, Dontrell Hilliard took off on a leap over some players down at the line of scrimmage, and Mack-Wilson caught him in the air and punished him. He's a hitter. He was a hitter at Alabama. It's just a matter of how consistently can he read things that are going on in front of him and be in the right position to make those tackles. If he can process things quickly, especially when we watch him through the preseason and we get a better angle on things that are going on at the First Energy Stadium Orange and Brown scrimmage this Saturday, those guys have the potential. Takitaki is a guy who plays abundantly fast and aggressive. He's caused a little bit of a headache with some of the veterans in the non-padded practices, going a little bit too aggressively in run period drills. And then just yesterday's practice, Stump Mitchell was a little upset with how Takitaki brought somebody to the ground. He thought a little late in the drill, late in the 11-on-11 period. Look, you need your linebackers to be aggressive players. Takitaki and Wilson are out to make a name for themselves and out to show the Browns, you drafted me here to play linebacker. I'm not going to settle for sitting on the bench. And that, the pressure that those guys are putting on, the effort that they're showing is only going to make Schobert and Kirksey better. And if those two, Schobert and Kirksey, don't want to respond to that challenge and don't take their game to another level, there's two young, eager guys ready to step in.
Are there any players other than quarterbacks on the roster who could imitate Trevor Bauer and take the ball from midfield and throw it through the uprights?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. If there's one player on the roster that would do it, who would get really frustrated and chuck a football 14 rows into the stands, it probably would be Baker Mayfield, right?
Right. I assume the quarterbacks could do it. I'm just wondering about the other players. All right, we showed the linebackers and the depth, and there's some names that people aren't very familiar with. Do you think they're going to pick up some people once the exhibition games start? Somebody will come available, and that list that we just show you will be outdated?
I don't think they will touch anything with the linebackers. I think they really like the group that they have there with the linebackers in terms of the first two, the veteran two who are behind the first two, Adarius-Taylor, who will play some. When the Browns do go three linebackers, he's the Sam. And don't forget they signed him out of Tampa Bay, and he was their special teams captain in 2018. He'll be a big part of things there. Ray-Ray-Armstrong's probably fighting for his life on the roster as maybe the sixth guy they keep. But they like those two young guys too, Takitaki and Mack-Wilson. And they like Willie-Harvey too, the undrafted free agent they signed out of Iowa State. So I don't think that group changes much. If I had to guess, two groups that could change with cut time would be the defensive line on the interior, if somebody becomes available at the interior of that line, and then there's a little bit of a chance they could look to add a third tight end, but I don't know if that'll happen.
All right, when we